Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is today. Welcome back. I hope your Friday is coming to a nice, easy close. We had an explosive day at the White House today. We're going to go through it. We're going to see what some of that reaction looks like soon as these tubes warm themselves up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. We got Zelensky being booted out of the White House. We've got Lindsey Graham talking about maybe it's time for Zelensky to find a new job, saying maybe it's resignation time, using the big R word. Uh-oh. We've got funds from the USAID department that were going over to Ukraine for power restoration all being canceled already. Wow. And Zelensky was walked out of the White House. There was a bunch of stories about this, so we'll talk about it. We've also got some Supreme Court updates. We are paying close attention on a couple of important cases out of there, including another USAID case. And the so-called AIDS doctors, they submitted another brief today to the Supreme Court. We'll take a quick look at that. And we also have news that some January 6th prosecutors have been demoted, getting knocked down a peg or two. So all around a pretty good day. We got Zelensky being booted out. Graham is now talking about resignations. And we've got some demotions for the J6 prosecutors. How perfect is that? It's a beautiful day, my friends. Great to see everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. We got a great stream planned ahead. And so now that we're here, let's just get to it, shall we? Because here's how it went down. An explosive meeting inside the Oval Office today, and President Trump is reporting what happened inside. Now, we are going to watch about 13 minutes of the explosive, historic, and incredible footage in a minute, but let's go through some reaction here so that we can parse through it with the proper context. Here's what the president said happened. Said, "We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today with Zelensky of Ukraine. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion. And I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace," says President Trump. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Signed by your favorite president, Donald Trump. Pretty powerful statement from him. Now, we also see that after the meeting went down, it sounds like they tried to walk it back, meaning the Ukrainians. Jackie Heinrich from Fox, who we'll hear from in a minute, reported the following, says, White House officials tell Fox, Trump kicked out Zelensky. He did not walk off on his own. The rare minerals deal was not signed. White House says the Ukrainians were begging to reset this, but Rubio and Waltz informed them Zelensky needs to leave the White House grounds and return when he's ready for peace. The president and U.S. officials felt disrespected by Zelensky's rhetoric and demeanor, cited that he was shrugging and rolling his eyes during the conversation, which he was. When I went to upper press to ask what was going on, the lunch that Trump and Zelensky were supposed to dine on and talk over was sitting in the hallway. I'm told White House press office staffers will now be eating it. Oh, man. So the White House is literally eating Zelensky's lunch. Literally happening moments after the blow up in the Oval Office. And I'm sure it was delicious. Man, I don't know what they were cooking for these folks today, but whatever it was, if it was a turkey sandwich, man, this is the best damn turkey sandwich I've ever had. What does this cost? Is this like $1 billion? All right, it's $1 billion turkey sandwich here. Here's for Western democracy. Ugh, delicious. I hope they enjoyed every stinking morsel of it. So that is a nice development. Obviously, we're kind of tired of being shoved around by these folks. And here is what Jackie Heinrich said in her report in the aftermath. In fact, before we get to her, let's see what Caitlin Collins said, because as we'll hear in the 13-minute event, there's a lot of shorter clips going around, but it was actually a pretty, mostly normal press conference, a little bit back and forth up until about the last 13 minutes. And Caitlin Collins was in the room and she said, okay, look, after this whole thing went down, here's what happened inside the White House after the Oval Office shouting match. Okay. Trump huddled with his key advisors immediately afterwards inside the Oval. According to a White House official, Trump consulted Vance, Rubio, Bessent, and that was when Trump decided that Zelensky was not in a place to negotiate. He directed Rubio and his national security advisor, Waltz, to deliver the message. It's time for Zelensky to leave. The Ukrainians were holding nearby in a separate room. Collins says that's pretty standard for foreign leader visits. Typically, they reconvene for lunch, but the Ukrainians would not be dining at the White House. As the prepared food set nearby on carts in the hallway, the Ukrainians were instructed to leave. The White House official said the Ukrainians wanted to continue the talks, but they were told, no, get out. Zelensky left shortly thereafter. And here's what Jackie Heinrich explained happened over on Fox News. You can see footage of what's happening, perhaps even Zelensky exiting accordingly.
Went up to the press area to get an understanding of what we're watching. This is what I was told. The president has kicked Zelensky out of the White House. His delegation right now is telling him that he's got to go home. The president felt disrespected. Officials in the room felt that beyond the language barrier that we've heard some discussion about, Zelensky's body language, shrugging and eye rolling, was ungrateful, disrespectful, and the president feels that Zelensky is not ready for peace and he can come back when he's ready to talk about peace, but he's not in that position right now, and Zelensky is being told he's got to go. The lunch that they were supposed to have is sitting right outside the hallway, and the press staffers are going to be eating that lunch. This is really pretty incredible. We see the SUV, Zelensky's SUV.
If you look to your left, you're going to see him. Let's watch.
Mr. President, is the deal off?
Oh, it's off.
President Zelensky, can you tell us what happened?
Can you pass me some more mac and cheese? Say all the staffers from the White House. Yeah, no, I want 2 scoops. Yeah, another scoop of that over there. Scoop over there. Yeah, 2 slices of the cheesecake, please. Send them down. 2 slices.
Did you sign the minerals deal? Did you sign the minerals deal? Why were you so disrespectful to the president?
We may be watching the floor fall through this moment in international relations and diplomacy, or this might be the art of the deal. And we're not going to know for some time.
Probably the latter, okay.
Jackie, it appears that even going into this meeting that this relationship was not great. About a week ago, President Trump called Zelensky a dictator. He was asked about that yesterday with the British Prime Minister, and he said, did I say that? Next question. As if he wanted to brush that off and make sure that things today went smoother.
Well, Zelensky, we're told, was begging to stay and work this out. The Ukrainians were...
Look at all that media, man. They all just got told to their faces, too. There's their little hero getting kicked out of the White House. Bye. Adios. And it is essentially a timeout, right? That's what Trump said in his post. He's like, look, he can come back. It's not over. He can come back when he's ready for peace. You're in timeout. You're throwing a temper tantrum, okay? You're not going to win the war. We're not going to World War III. So the third option is we got to settle this. So just figure this out. I know you have been held up on a pedestal for the last 2.5 years, and everybody like Ben Stiller and Lindsey Graham have been salivating at your very sight. Well, that is over now, okay? That is coming to a close. So now it's time to put your big boy pants on and come in and sit down and have a real conversation. And if you can't do that, then you're going back into timeout until your temper tantrums have been worked out of yourself, and then you can come back in with the adults. And so that's exactly what happened today. And we'll see. Now, others are saying, it's time for him to go entirely, including Lindsey Graham. He was pretty unhappy about this after the meeting. Now, before the meeting, Lindsey Graham was thrilled. Look at him. Look at all these people. You never see him so happy, except when they're sitting around their money laundering so-called leader of Western democracy. Okay, look how happy they are. Oh, it's so great. We're going to get minerals and all this stuff is going to work out. We're going to cover up all of our crimes. We'll finally get a lid on this whole thing. Everything is going to go well. And Graham has been one of the biggest promoters of Ukraine and the war there for decades now. John McCain and the rest of them. So they threw them out, and we'll hear from Lindsey Graham in a minute, but here's another angle. Even the White House is posting this. Okay, the White House is not happy. They posted this from their official account, said, he disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Signed by President Trump. Seen here from their official account. Here's another angle of the exit with no audio there, but we're waiting for Zelensky to come on out, and the whole crew walked out. Bye. Get out. And then the car leaves. We saw the other angle of that, of course. So after this went down, they were all there excited. They're, oh my gosh, we're going to have a deal and get minerals and all this stuff. Lindsey Graham, before it happened, watch this reversal. President Trump invited me to the White House today for the signing of the critical minerals deal between the U.S. and Ukraine. I am honored to attend. Trump, the deal maker and peacemaker, is on display. Record scratch. Not that that sounded like that at all, but it says here, breaking. Lindsey Graham. Unfortunately, America was disrespected and the deal is off. I have never been more proud of President Trump and Vice President Vance for standing up for America. And that is accurate. Here is what Lindsey had to say in the aftermath. He went out and addressed the cameras as follows.
So, what I think? Complete, utter disaster. I've been to Ukraine 8 or 9 times since the war started. I understand the consequences of Putin's actions against Ukraine. I appreciate what the Ukrainian people have done. They fought like tigers. At the end of the day, I was hoping that this minerals deal, which would be transformative in the relationship, would go over well. I talked to Zelensky this morning. Don't take the bait. President Trump was in a very good mood last night. Somebody asked me, am I embarrassed about Trump? I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance, standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again.
Whoa!
I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting.
Lindsey, we saw that years ago, bro. Welcome.
The way he confronted the president was just over the top. So I think the relationship between...
That's how he has been this entire time.
...between Ukraine and America is important, vitally important. But can Zelensky do a deal with the United States? After what I saw, I don't know.
What would he need to do? Wow.
Senator Graham. You just had lunch with President Trump. What did he say to you about his interactions and whether he thinks...
He was shocked. He was very upbeat. I told Zelensky, we'll talk about security guarantees. We'll talk about ceasefires and how the war ends. This is a process. You have a new relationship with America, a $500 billion, $500 billion deal that President Trump is proud of, that gives us an interest worth defending. Let's talk about the positive. But he was terrible at Munich, Zelensky, and I think he has made it almost impossible to sell to the American people that he's a good investment, that he is a good business partner.
Last question. Senator Graham. Hey, one at a time. One at a time. Christian Daytop. Senator Graham, thank you. Do
Do you think President Zelensky needs to resign to resume these peace talks?
He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
Do you
Thank you.
All right. So, and obviously the minerals deal, you might have an opinion on that or not, but the implied security guarantee is that the United States would want to defend the mineral rights and the minerals there. So it's like, hey, Zelensky, dum-dum, we're not going to go put tanks on the ground right now. But if we have a minerals deal and the Russians come in and take or threaten the minerals, that's going to be a pretty big problem for us. Understand? So it's like not inviting them into NATO per se, but it's inviting them into America's economic supply chain, which is also very important to us. So there's an implied, almost de facto security guarantee embedded in the deal, which I'm not all that thrilled about. But the point is, it's there. So like, what were they fighting over? Just little nuances like tanks and other things. But here, that was one video of Lindsey, and he looks pretty angry about this. You can see, I can't believe it, got a call for a change and more. Liz Cheney came out responding to this, and we'll play the full 13-minute, I think, most important highlight of about the 50-minute press conference coming up. But Liz said, generations of American patriots from our revolution onward have fought for the principles Zelensky is risking his life to defend. Really? Is that right? But today, Trump and J.D. Vance attacked Zelensky and pressured him to surrender the freedom of his people to the KGB war criminal called my dad, Dick Cheney. Oh, I think he's probably talking about Putin. History will remember this day when an American president and a vice president abandoned all we stand for. So warmonger lunatic Liz is very upset about this, which means this was amazing. You know that this was incredible for history and for America if Liz Cheney is so upset about it. But she did post that. We also saw Kristi Noem, Homeland Security, came out and explained, I am so proud of our commander-in-chief. Thank you, President Trump and Vance, for standing up for America. We will not tolerate the political games and disrespect of America. Victoria Spartz over in the House said Zelensky is doing a serious disservice to the Ukrainian people, insulting the American president and the American people just to appease Europeans and increase his low polling in Ukraine after he failed miserably to defend his country. This is not a theater act, Zelensky, but a real war. From Victoria Spartz. And Rubio came out and already is making some shifts and canceling some funds. Here is what he said. Thank you, President Trump, for standing up for America in a way that no president has ever had the courage to do before. Thank you for putting America first. America is with you. And NBC reported this today, simultaneous with this breakdown. So I don't know if this is causally related or not, or coincidental, but the funds are coming down. This has happened right away. Says State Department now terminates U.S. support of Ukraine energy grid restoration. I'm going to guess that is new, like immediate. The USAID initiative had invested hundreds of millions in Ukraine and their energy grid. But they terminated that today. That's according to two officials working on the agency's Ukraine mission, saying power outages have been applied overnight in some regions due to attacks. The country's systems sustained damage over the course of a 3-year war, blah, blah, blah. Before the Trump administration's latest move, 64 American government employees were on the ground over there. Two officials warned. A State Department spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Both officials also asserted that USAID plays a significant role in funding things and blah, blah, blah. They've got a bunch of people over there, 115 staff based in D.C., pared down to 29 now. So funds getting cut off. Thanks for playing the game. Maybe you should have been nice and wore something special for the event. But here is what Zelensky said in the aftermath. He said, thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Congress and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace. We are working exactly for that. And so let's see if he's posted anything else here. Yeah, he's just thanking everybody for their support. Here we go. So Zelensky is having a bro fest with everybody on the interwebs today. He's saying, hey, thank you, Justin, for your support. Justin's like, I love you, Zelensky. Here, Alexander Schallenberg, this person's over from some other country. Where's this? Austria. Thank you for your support. So he's just going around the world and thanking people. Now, it's interesting. They all offer their support. It'd be nice if they offered maybe their military or their billions of dollars. It's nice to do that. Or you got guys like Kinzinger or something. He's like, everybody should die for Ukraine and we should sacrifice everything for World War III. And we're like, bro, like, aren't you like capable of going over there and fighting right now? If you're such a hero and you want to go over there and you want all of us to sacrifice for it, why don't you go do it? And he doesn't want to do it, obviously. So they all just talk a big game and don't want to do anything about it other than just, take your support. And then when the billions come through, they skim off the top of it. It's a giant scam. So we want it over. We're tired of playing these games anymore. Trump tried to stop it today and Zelensky threw a fit. So here is how it went down today. Now, the press conference was about 53 minutes in total. The first about 40 minutes of it were mostly normal, kind of a give and take. You can see they walked into the White House, sat there, talked, exchanged some stuff. Everything's going pretty well until we get to these last two questions. So I've got this queued up where Caitlin Collins is going to ask a question. Then somebody from the Ukrainian media is going to ask a question. And then the whole thing goes off the rails. Then we got reaction from Scott Bessent and more coming up.
President Putin to withdraw his forces from those areas if there's U.S. interest?
Well, we'll take a look at the time. We have a lot of area. It's a very big area we're talking about. So we'll take a look. I'll study that and I'll see.
And who would protect those minerals if they are U.S. interest? Would that be Ukrainian?
They'll be protected. The agreement will protect them. The agreement, yeah. We're signing an agreement.
What if Russia tries to invade or orders Russian aggression in those spots?
I just told you I don't think that's going to happen. And if that were going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal. If I thought that was going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal.
Some people may wonder why.
They ought to focus on CNN on survival, not asking me these ridiculous questions. Focus on surviving, because CNN's got such low ratings. I don't think they're going to survive. Let's go. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Since I already mentioned Poland. Poland was under Russian control for decades after the Second World War. When I was a kid, I looked at the United States not only as a most powerful country, richest country in the world, the country that has great music, great movies, great muscle cars, but also as a force for good. And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal? That doesn't work that way. No. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America. And for the good of the world, I'm aligned with the world. And I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done.
Negotiating.
You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question. Yeah, please.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014.
Well, 2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but,
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation.
Okay, just to be clear about this, J.D. Vance and his comment had nothing to do with whatever Zelensky's talking about. Okay, the media came in and they're like, what do you say when you're supportive of Putin and all this stuff? And Trump, right? I'm trying to be the middleman to negotiate a settlement to this. Both sides are at each other's throats. It's not going to help to continue escalating this or have the fighting get more aggravated if we're interested in peace. It's not going to work out that way. So we have to change the modality is what J.D. Vance's point was. We can talk with all this bluster and sell this image that's not true, or we can just solve it. And then Zelensky just spirals off into some rant about this, about how essentially that the very purpose of the meeting here today, which is to sign an agreement and to come to a deal, he's now going on this rant about how other prior deals have been ignored or invalidated by Putin. Well, what happened in 2014? We had a deal and he came in here and he did all these other things. And he's going on this little rant and you're like, well, if you don't think he's going to honor deals, then what are you in this room for? What are you wasting all of our time for? Are you going to sign it or not? And in other words, don't sign the deal and then have a bunch of caveats like, well, but like, okay, I'll sign it, but it doesn't really count because he's going to violate it like he's done before. It's like, are you on board or not? What are you doing here? And why are you launching? The dude had like 10 minutes to go. If he would have just kept his mouth shut and not gone off on this little spiral tirade here, J.D. Vance wasn't saying anything bad about Ukraine at all and wasn't saying anything good about Russia. He was just saying, hey, Joe Biden ran his mouth against Russia, didn't solve anything. So now we're trying to change that. The media and America is changing its posture. And then Zelensky goes nuts.
And we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken the ceasefire. Yeah. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners.
Okay, so deal's blown right now, right? Because he says, we already signed a deal. He's basically acknowledging after all of this that the signing of a deal is meaningless. And what is Trump and J.D. Vance supposed to do right now?
But he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, J.D., you are speaking about? What do you
Move
mean?
It all up right
I'm
there.
talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Yeah. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position. You don't have the
in
cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of
Entire meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you.
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October.
Thank you,
Offer
JD.
some words of appreciation for
What-
the United States
what
of
are you speaking
America
about?
and the president who's trying to
saw
save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is
Can I-
in big
can-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking.
Yeah.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I
You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
We gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak-
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times thank you to American people.
Except that there are disagreements,
Wow.
and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
It
over
is
here.
good.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look.
Wow.
If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But
But
you're
I
saying
said,
you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
it doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what.
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
nation- it
That was
wasn't
with
you.
a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
But this
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make, because the attitudes have to change.
What
Attitudes.
if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton,
Emanating out of
Shifty
Ukraine.
Adam Schiff. It was a
Burisma.
Democrat scam.
Burisma.
And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out.
Yeah, good luck.
I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think, huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right, we'll see what we can do about putting it together. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see, I don't know. Please. Hey, let's roll, let's roll. Guys, come on, let's move. Thank you.
Jay. Did somebody just whisper, holy effing?
Jay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, you're good, brother. No, you're good.
Jay.
I think so. Dang. Okay. Even the journo was like, holy effing what the heck was that all? Big explosive interaction. And it feels like Zelensky nuked the whole thing. They could have just sat there and signed the mineral deal. It's such an idiotic thing to think that the United States would not defend their rare earth minerals, right? If there's a rare earth mineral deal and the United States is gobbling those up and Russia threatens the United States or threatens those minerals, there's going to be a problem there. So I don't know what was so complicated about this. Okay, that is your security guarantee. Trump is not going to come back to the American people and sell us on a security guarantee of NATO, because that's obviously a non-negotiable with Putin. Or with troops on the ground, American troops on the ground. It's never going to happen. This is a great solution. And I think it actually, could be a problem for the United States because it puts us right on Russia's border, and now we have to defend those minerals, right? And it's a predicament in the future, but it would solve this problem here and now. And where that goes, let's say 20 years down the road, who knows? But they're solving it now. So, but for Zelensky, it's a perfect out. For Trump, it's a perfect out. It's a perfect out for everybody because the United States gets to say one of our biggest gripes on this whole thing from our perspective that shuts us up is, what is America's interest in this? Stop lecturing us on democracy. Like this, like Putin's going to march and drive the French into the sea. We just don't believe that here. And if that happens, that's Europe's problem. If he continues over and hits Germany or something, then maybe we'll get nervous about it. But as it stands right now, this has been a region that has been in conflict forever. And until 1991 was a part of that, of Russia, the Soviet Union. So it's a very complex thing. We're trying to solve it right now. They could have had it done. Trump could have come back to us and said, we're getting all this money, so just eat it. And it's closed, right? And would have been a nice solution. But Zelensky blew it, botched it. They threw his butt out of the White House as they should. Now, I'm not so concerned that it's not going to come to a conclusion. I think that if Zelensky doesn't have the U.S. backing, and unless Europe springs into attention all of a sudden and decides that they're going to defend themselves, then as it stands, Zelensky's got no choice but to come back to the table, right? And maybe even give up more than what he did. He might have cost himself and his country a bunch, not only in goodwill, but in terms of a final deal. Pretty idiotic from his perspective there to show up, waste everybody's time, and just key off on some random rant. Like, if that was your perspective and you have a problem with these deals, then you should have just said, we'll never sign any deal because Putin's going to break it. What are you doing here to sign a deal if you don't like deals? So here was Scott Bessent. He had a conversation. He got asked about this in the aftermath, said you can't go on public like this and slam the American people. Not a good move.
David, you don't do a negotiation with the President of the United States in public like this. That we were scheduled to have lunch afterwards, and that perhaps he could have brought up some of the points. Instead, he chose to let let things go into a downward spiral on worldwide television. And, again, I keep coming back to the disrespect of the American people. It was one thing for President Zelensky and I had an extended, heated negotiation in Kyiv, but we were going to get this economic agreement done. But when you bring it out to the public like this, we'll see if there's any coming back.
Yikes. So even Scott Bessent says not looking good for Zelensky. Pretty dumb thing to do. Now, this guy, Josh Suckoff over on X, who is at that X handle, was there, and you can see some photographs that he shared with us. Look at the media, okay? They all got to watch as their hero Zelensky got thrown out of the White House on his own accord. And there's a lot of cope out there from people saying Zelensky had to stand up for his country and all of that. And I understand that completely, by the way. Like, if you're in Zelensky's position and let's say you're not a CIA person who is kind of installed and you're actually somebody who doesn't squander free speech in your country and you have elections and you're like a better person and all the things, then you'd empathize. You're like, man, it sucks to be in his position. He got invaded by a much bigger country, doesn't have the resources, kind of needs our help, all these things. But you still, you say you got to do what you got to do for your country. I understand that all over the place. I'm not saying that other countries should like bend to American will or whatever, but the stakes on the geopolitical stage are what they are, and you have to operate in a world of reality. And that's what we're trying to do right now. This idea that we can just keep sending Zelensky money and it's going to turn the tides here was never going to be the outcome, and they're all finally realizing that. So Zelensky got booted on out of the White House. Here was his exit. Bye, Zelensky. I have a feeling he'll be back, but we, of course, will see. So he's departed. Zelensky blew it. President Trump said he's welcome back, but only when he's ready for peace. All right. So we'll keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thanks for joining on that segment. Now, we've got some other good business to attend to here today, including some updates out of the Supreme Court. And let's jump into this one because this is a case that has been percolating and is an expensive one. Let's jump in right now. The Supreme Court has to make a ruling on a case that's knocking on its door. We have Trump and the Trump administration saying, please don't make us pay out $2 billion on contracts that we've already canceled. We know that this judge, called Judge Amir Ali, a Biden appointee, in the case of Global Health versus Trump, and there's another case called the AIDS doctors case. They've been consolidated. They're at the Supreme Court right now. We've already gone through Trump's request for influence from the Supreme Court to come out here and stay this lower level TRO. But what the Supreme Court has now received is the opposition to the application. In the Supreme Court of the United States, we got these two cases, both of them being heard by Amir Ali. And earlier this week, we had the deadline where at midnight, the Trump administration was ordered to pay the money. Then John Roberts came out at the stroke of midnight, right before the clock struck 12, and said, don't make those payments because the lower level court has been stayed, the TRO from Judge Amir. Now, this is the opposition to Trump. So this has been filed by the AIDS doctors, as we call them, and that's not to be pejorative towards AIDS or any of these entities. I just don't necessarily believe that they're influencing the global AIDS epidemic in any way. I think they're just kind of mostly made up entities for the purpose of skimming off taxpayer dollars for their friends and colleagues. But this is what they wrote. And these are always interesting to see because you can see what is actually happening in the case. A lot of people also out there saying, Doge isn't cutting anything. They're trying to eliminate Doge by saying Doge is ineffective and it's kind of a waste of time and resources and it's chaotic and blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, when you see what's happening over here, Doge is very effective. And these cuts are having a massive impact, more massive than they even want to admit, which is why there's almost 100 lawsuits that have now been filed to try to stop this stuff by the people who are on the receiving end of the grift. That just shows you how much money and infrastructure they have. If there is such a flush set of legal funds and lawyers and bank accounts out there that are so rich that they can file hundreds of lawsuits to come after the Trump administration to keep that money going on, shows you they were getting too much money. So here's what they wrote. They say, all right, look, the government comes to the Supreme Court. This is from the AIDS doctors saying that they came with an emergency that they made themselves. Trump is causing this. Trump signed an executive order that directed an immediate halt to thousands of congressionally funded projects across the globe. Yeah, Congress did make those appropriations, no question, but they didn't make every individual appropriation, and the contracts were canceled pursuant to the terms of the contract. Congress didn't pass legislation that funded circumcisions in the sub-Sahara specifically, okay, to my knowledge that we know, but that's the general example. So every time they say this, they're trying to imply that Trump violated Congress, that there's a separation of powers problem. There's not at all. He's still got the money. He's still got those appropriations. It's just not going to your team anymore. In the following days, executive agencies issued wave after wave of stop work orders. Okay, this is Trump, USAID, and it's Rubio, saying this funded countless American businesses, Democratic businesses, and nonprofits, saying that we relied on them worldwide. Worldwide communities relied on this stuff. Now, us suing, they're talking to the Supreme Court, we got this foreign funding, and we now challenge this freeze. We say it's unconstitutional, that the president can't do this because Congress said you got to spend the money. So they write to the Supreme Court. All right, listen, SCOTUS. More than 2 weeks ago, the district court, Judge Amir Ali, who was born in Canada, agreed that the foreign assistance freeze was likely unlawful and said that you're going to suffer irreparable harm, saying that the TRO has to be in place to preserve the status quo, right? The judge saying that the TRO, which is not appealable, and this is what Trump is trying to appeal now to the Supreme Court, and did ask for a stay, saying that the judge issued an order saying make these payments. Following the entry of the order, though, the government didn't comply. Rubio and Trump weren't making these payments. So then they filed again. Your Honor, they're not making these payments. The government, again, took no steps towards compliance. And we were following this because we said they don't need to. They've got independent sources upon which they can rely to cancel the contracts to make sure that those funds don't get sent out. Now, the next day, the district court denied another motion. And again, Rubio and Trump took no step. They're like, we're not paying anything. The day after that, the government, Rubio, they submitted a motion for clarification. Remember, they said, okay, well, here's what we've done. We paid out this one, and canceled everything else. So we think we're in compliance with your order. Let us know if we're not. Again, they say they are not complying. Then irreparable harms are mounting. We asked the court, finally, these AIDS doctors filed it again, to stop and enforce the TRO. After an hour-long hearing at which the government could not identify a single step, right, at the hearing, what did you do to make these payments? All the DOJ lawyers were like, whoa, did you do anything? No. Did you? No. The court entered another order, again, identifying specific steps. You have to go make these payments. Now, Trump's DOJ is trying to vacate this. They say the government's not entitled to this relief. The TRO was meant to preserve the status quo, and this is fun. They're telling the Supreme Court, you can't even hear this case yet. They're appealing a TRO, but you can't appeal a TRO. So Supreme Court, you can't hear that. The order at issue is a TRO. There's nothing to appeal. And by any measure, they have the lower level court has the discretion to do this. And so you should deny this application to the Supreme Court. Saying on January 20th, Trump issued a pause of all the funds, and Rubio paused it again for 90 days. But this is forced, they tell us, thousands of American businesses and nonprofits, whatever, to suspend their work by halting disbursements for work that had already been performed, even that the government had already approved. And now they're in financial turmoil. Now, we're private companies and nonprofits. They say we are going to have irreparable harm. We're going to have evictions, insolvency, even physical threats and more. Now, the government's continued noncompliance is a violation of the court. And one respondent had to lay off 110 employees yesterday they'll all go find new jobs doing other things that are more in American interests. I don't know what they were working on. Maybe it was a trans comic book factory. I have no idea. Another will default on severance obligations, civil liability, and regulatory enforcement. Contracts are canceled. And they didn't get payments today. Many of those who depend on this are going to die. Look, say they even write it. Starvation, disease, and death. They're going to die because the U.S. money is not funneled into them. In response, they filed 2 lawsuits. In each case, we sought a TRO. The court found that they are going to suffer irreparable harm. And all that, by the way, is nonsense because Rubio has already explained multiple times, and we read through it with Peter Morocco's affidavit and his declaration. He gave us a very clear breakdown of what they write for waivers and how they process people who might die. Okay, they're not cutting off anybody. This is dramatic BS. Now, the district court accordingly entered a TRO, stopping the government from implementing the agency's actions, and the judge said, give them the money. The court entered a scheduling order, said you have to comply, said you have to take meaningful steps to give out $2 billion, and they didn't do it. Then they filed a motion to make them pay. The next day, the court rejected Trump's appeal of the order to pay the $2 billion, and so then they didn't comply. After the government told the judge that we're not in a position to answer whether we had taken any actions to unfreeze any of this, they didn't unfreeze anything. Now, at no time during that hearing or at any time before it sought an emergency review, they didn't say that they needed more time or more schedule to unfreeze these payments. They never brought this up, Judge. Instead, they filed a notice of appeal. And they asked for an emergency stay pending appeal. The Supreme Court obviously granted them that. But denying a stay, the district court explained, the lower level court, before we got to the Supreme Court, then they went up to the Court of Appeals. Trump got rejected at the Court of Appeals. Then they filed 2 SCOTUS. Now they say, Supreme Court, this is extraordinary for them to be knocking on your door. The government's application is a request for a license to defy a TRO, and you can't give them the ability to defy a TRO, saying, Supreme Court, yeah, this is interesting, right? It's not generally a good idea to tell the Supreme Court of all courts that they lack jurisdiction. Hey, because, there's the Supreme Court. You might say that they have said that they do, but they kind of have jurisdiction over everything, unless the Constitution says otherwise. But to ensure orderly adjudication and to prevent piecemeal review, Congress has constrained federal courts' appellate jurisdiction with limited exceptions to review the district court's final judgments, right? That's 28 U.S. Code 1291. And again, that's a statute. So they reference statutes like, well, this refrains the court from doing this. Well, not really. Okay, the court is bound by the Constitution. So if the statute is in or out of compliance with the Constitution, then nobody gives a crap about their statutes. And they often forget that. So the general rule is that TROs are not appealable. Yeah, well, the general rule doesn't apply to when the president, who operates a co-equal branch of government, is being usurped by the judiciary, okay? Congress can't pass a statute that allows that garbage to happen, okay? Only a constitutional amendment can change that balance of power, not some stupid U.S. code. So don't tell the Supreme Court that they can't hear a case when that's their sole job, is to reconcile constitutional conflicts that are being enacted by rogue district court judges like Amy Berman Jackson, or in this case, Amir Ali. This jurisdictional rule is sensible, they say, because TROs generally shouldn't be appealed. But again, this is not the general case. Underlying the government's application is a TRO requiring the government to pay their money. The TRO expires. Then, as we know, right, it goes from a TRO. The next stage is the preliminary injunction. And then that is generally appealable. But they say we're not there yet, right? And so what's happening, this is such a sneaky situation, is because the judge has this window where he can act without being appealed. And right now, okay, he just turned it on to say, pay out the $2 billion before they can appeal. It's like theft. It's like court-sanctioned theft of $2 billion to his Democratic friends. And only by, a miracle or whatever you want to call it, the Supreme Court got that and stayed it at the last minute. And the judge, they're basically fighting for that window to be reopened again. Once the preliminary injunction comes, Trump can then appeal it, and then they can't make this argument anymore. So they continue. They say there are jurisdictional rules. The preliminary injunction motion is coming soon, and so they can appeal that when it gets there. But you can't review this right now. Emergency applications, also like this one, are rushed, and that's not appropriate. You should let them come up through the process so that they get meaningful review. The government, Trump, worries that the greater specificity of the enforcement might risk sanctions and other proceedings, but they didn't raise that concern before. And they didn't identify any legal issues that you need to address, Supreme Court. And they haven't taken any meaningful steps towards compliance with the TRO, so you can't award them a review when they're not complying with the underlying order. Now, to the extent that this case implicates broader legal questions, those questions are not presently before the court in a form that's suitable for review. And so, in other words, you can't hear it right now. Send it back down so that they can siphon out the $2 billion. Then I'll issue a preliminary injunction that maybe changes it. Like maybe the PI wouldn't have actually granted the funds to be dispersed like the TRO did. Who knows? In other words, he can close the window on himself. Opens the window. I have to look inside. We're just going to pause it because it's temporary. Oh, this is bad. I'll close the window. Sorry, Judge. $2 billion has already gone out. The district court, they say, was the best to hear this. And so as it stands, they can't appeal this to the Supreme Court. They also say the government is wrong on the merits, that this is a TRO. It's not a preliminary injunction. They haven't rebutted any evidence. They have taken minimal steps towards compliance with the TRO. They say that they have sovereign immunity, but they don't. Those arguments are the subject of the preliminary injunction hearing that's going to be coming up. And it's not overbroad. Remember, Judge Amir Ali said that he had to fund everything, basically, that there could not be any contracts that were canceled. We learned yesterday on the show that Marco Rubio submitted a statement via his team that he reviewed every single contract, more or less, and canceled them via his office, via the power of the Secretary of State. They say the government faces no irreparable harm, other than the billions of dollars that are being siphoned out of our treasury. The government offers no evidence that these payments are illegitimate. They just say that they don't want to pay them. They call them wrongly dispersed, but the equities favor all of these so-called doctors. And so the court should lift the stay and deny the application. So lift the hold on the money going out and force Rubio to pay those funds. I don't think that's going to happen. And we'll see what the Supreme Court does on it. But as it stands, that is the most recent filing from them. And we'll keep our eye on this one. So Trump's people certainly will respond to this or file their reply. And we will cover it when it drops. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, we've got one more segment, my friends. And then it'll be time to hear from you. And here is a fun story. Ed Martin over at the DOJ has now demoted several January 6th prosecutors. Hopefully it's just the start and they are soon fired. But here's what he wrote or explained to someone. And now Bloomberg is reporting, telling us Washington's top federal prosecutor called Ed Martin has demoted multiple senior supervisors involved in the J6 cases. They oversaw federal crimes, public corruption, and other things. And now they've been told to immediately report to misdemeanors. An office called the Early Case Assessment Section said the individuals, who all spoke on condition of anonymity. Oh no! They're going to do urinating in public cases and littering? Amazing. Now, as you know, each U.S. attorney must assess the needs of his office to achieve the goals set forth by the president and the attorney general. To that end, I must assign attorneys where I assess there is need and where I believe each U.S. attorney can contribute, said Martin in an email that Bloomberg Law got their hands on. Martin, a former advocate for the J6 Capitol protesters, has overseen the dismissal of hundreds of criminal cases after Trump issued his sweeping pardon. Been serving in the interim capacity, but Trump recently nominated him to lead one of the most critical Justice Department districts, which was D.C. Martin has launched an investigation into his own office's use of a criminal obstruction statute in the J6 cases. He told employees last month that anyone who doesn't cooperate with his inquiry will be reviewed as an insubordinate. And we're big fans of Martin. He also promised to crack down on those who threaten federal judges and workers for Elon Musk and his Doge committee. agency. Now, it's common for new U.S. attorneys to remove the unit chiefs, but downgrading the veteran leaders to handle misdemeanor matters instead of the felonies they've long handled is considered a significant departure. Oh, man, that is great. All right. And look, there's nothing wrong with misdemeanors. I've represented people on a lot of misdemeanors. In fact, some of the more serious crimes and some of the most difficult crimes that exist are misdemeanors in most cases. You'll talk to a lot of defense attorneys who will tell you that DUIs can be the most complicated criminal case that you can work on because of the blood analysis. And if it's a drug case, now you've got mass spectrometry and all this stuff. And to understand how that all works is like, wow. So they can be very complicated. It's not to diminish misdemeanors in any way. But for a U.S. attorney who is working at the federal level to work on misdemeanors, that's a whole different ballgame. All right. That's like different. Like if you're a city level prosecutor or something, like misdemeanors are kind of your bread and butter. That's going to be your DUIs, your domestic violence. It's a lot of what our law firm covered. We did a lot of felonies too, but within, Maricopa County and elsewhere. But for a U.S. attorney who's working federal cases, you generally don't get misdemeanors unless they're like DUIs on a federal park. Like every year we'd get some DUIs at the Grand Canyon, right? And you go to federal court to handle a misdemeanor DUI. And everybody's like, what are you doing here on a misdemeanor federal DUI? What the hell is this? I know, it's wild. So for these prosecutors to get to go from saving American democracy by leading the J6 cases to now prosecuting some dude who had a couple extra butt lights at the federal park is a joke. It's hilarious. Goodbye to them. Now, again, hopefully this is just the start and there's a lot more to come. Kyle Cheney also gave us some background, said that Ed Martin demoted several of those people, including those who put Bannon and Navarro, as well as the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, in prison, all demoted. Their names: John Crabb, Jason McCullough, Kate Ricazzi, Greg Rosen, all demoted. They also tried to demote this guy, Michael Romano, but he worked in the DOJ's public integrity section, and so they couldn't drop him out quite yet. But nice developments there. This guy also bailed. Michael Kaplan was reporting this. He writes over for CBS, and he shared that this guy called Josh Stueve, a senior comms official at the DOJ, has also resigned. 15R vet who served both GOP and Dem administrations. And here's what he wrote as he resigned. Office of Public Affairs from Joshua Stueve. He says, Dear so-and-so, please accept this letter as formal notification of my resignation as Senior Communications Advisor and Spokesman for the DOJ, effective September 30th, 2025. What? While that's a long time, like, why doesn't he leave now? While the relentless attacks on federal workers have certainly taken their toll, says this tough prosecutor, spokesperson, I guess, I remain incredibly proud of my 23 years in public service. Yeah. Including nearly a decade on active duty in the U.S. Marine Corps. Well, we appreciate that, but was that, I don't know, I guess these federal, I don't know. When I left the Marines as a disabled veteran, I was unsure what my future would hold, and so it was an honor of a lifetime when I was offered the chance to serve my country, again, as a federal employee. Now I've served as a spokesman for the DOD. I've witnessed extraordinary expertise, patriotism, and other things. Now, to be clear, the outcome of the most recent general election did not influence my decision. It, in fact, has been an honor to serve the department under both Republicans and Democrats, each of whom have previously treated career staff with respect and dignity. Oh, here it comes. It is heartbreaking to see that basic decency come to an end. Simply put, I cannot continue to serve in such a hostile and toxic work environment. One where leadership at the highest levels makes clear we are not welcomed or valued, much less trusted to do our jobs. I sincerely wish you and those who remain the very best. You have all been such a wonderful teammates over the years, dedicated, honest, loyal public servants who do the job not for the title and certainly not for the minuscule paycheck because they're so poor, but for the deep passion for the mission and service to your country. You are true patriots and the very best our country has to offer. Semper Fidelis, says Joshua as he's leaving the DOJ. All right. Bye, Joshua. Hopefully you find a less toxic work environment, you big baby. All right. So he's on his way out. Now we also see this woman is also very upset. She said this, I'm working, trying to catch up on things. And then all of a sudden, Elon sends me an email, and then I just have a heart attack.
The email that came out wanting us to justify our jobs with 5 things we did last week was on Saturday night. Yeah. And I was literally working on Saturday night to make up for all the distractions I had had the previous week, which came from the executive branch. And so I'm working, trying to catch up on things, and then I get that email on top of it. It's very hard to keep your train of thought when you're getting threatened and harassed like that.
Threatened and harassed like that. Oh, so dramatic. Now, these employees who know that they've been on the grift for maybe decades are now trying to hide themselves. This came over from this person called Josh Code. He wrote this with the headline saying that the U.S. Mint, the agency that prints the money, they scrambled as soon as Trump won to conceal their DEI personnel, like store them in the floorboards or something. Says the U.S. Mint hid its 5 DEI personnel from President Trump. What? And they even deleted the chief DEI officer's background from their website, according to a whistleblower. On January 20th, Trump issued an order eliminating DEI, but the U.S. Mint, a division of the Treasury that makes coins, had employed 5 staffers in its Office of Equity and Inclusion, OEI. They made up entire offices for this. So for all these weirdos saying, like, where'd Doge come from? Who elected Doge? What are they running? They put these little offices in all the agencies, the DEI offices, to reshape the agencies according to their woke insanity. On December 3rd, 2024, before Trump took office, the OEI office was closed. They had been around since 2022 when Biden took over. All 5 staffers were rehomed in other parts of the agency, so they just moved them from one cubicle to another. Martin said he's personally aware of these moves because 2 of the staffers have since taken his job. Martin, who used to work as a web content manager in the Mint, said 2 DEI officers called Luz Sullivan and Vicky Best Morris are now doing the PR duties that he once did. He used to write and distribute educational content for children and do outreach and other things. Then he was reassigned to sales and marketing on December 29th, but he was shifted. Chief Human Capital Officer called Cammie McLean told Martin the move was, quote, for efficiency, based solely on the business needs of the Mint. Yeah, right. This led Martin to register a formal complaint. He said, what happened to me over the past few months is a prime example of a toxic nature of forcing political values into the federal office. Together, the 5 former DEI staffers who are now embedded elsewhere, they made 722 G's. 3 of the 5 were moved to open positions in the 12-strong Department of Public Affairs. So they booted Martin out, like probably a white guy, Martin, threw him out, brought someone else in. Dennis Fish, formerly the Mint's Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, now they shifted his title. They just changed the labels. You know how they like to change labels on themselves. Well, today I feel like this, and today I feel like that, and now I feel like you, and now I feel like 2, and now I feel like me, and now I feel like 3. It's like a Dr. Seuss thing with these people. But they just shifted his label. He's like, now I identify as the Chief of Public Affairs. I now identify accordingly. Like, oh, well, we honor you as the Chief of Public Affairs. Vicky Best Morris, she retained her title. She's still Community Outreach Coordinator. And Luz Sullivan, who was formerly Recruitment and Special Emphasis, now is Management Analyst. Wow. Recruitment and Special Emphasis Coordinator. Now is a management analyst. The 2 remaining OEI officers are also there. They were placed in Mint's Equal Employment Opportunity Office. Shanice Taylor Nee Hoffman, she was formerly in the DEIA office, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. She was a senior advisor over there. She's now an Equal Employment Specialist. Yeah. And David LeBoy was an Equity and Inclusion Data Analyst. He's probably the one that keeps track of the pronoun database. and the multiple thousands of entries that are constantly changing. It's like, man, we have to graph this out using AI analysis, who's now a data analyst. He's like, I used to analyze equity and inclusion data. Now I just analyze data without so much equity. Probably racist data, isn't it? Says, what's strange is that if you go to Dennis Fish's biography on the U.S. Mint website, his previous title is also gone. They deleted it right from the website. Isn't that fun? So here's Dennis Fish, Public Affairs Office Chief. Used to be DEI dude over there. And of course, doesn't want that to be known. On January 22nd, 2 days after Trump issued his DEI order, Mint Director Ventris Gibson warned staffers any changes to DEI personnel descriptions should be reported to the agency. But 2 days later, Jill, the deputy chief of public affairs, told a web designer who reports to Martin to scrub Fish's DEI experience from the website. Insurrection! Jill, from Jill to this person, hey, so-and-so, copying Brian Martin, please edit Dennis's bios to delete the second sentence in the opening paragraph, saying, delete this. Dennis Fish serves as the chief of public affairs at the U.S. Mint. Delete. He originally joined the Mint in 2022 as the chief equity and inclusion officer. Let me know when it is accomplished. Apologies for the last minute request. Website update needed before 2 p.m. January 24th, 2025. Oh, crap! Trump issues his executive order. She's like, we're all going to get fired. Can you update this immediately? The website designer replied saying, sorry, I can't do that. Saying Martin would not allow her to make that change. He says, Jill, editing a bio is different than taking down informational pages, as it would be considered an attempt to obscure the connection to DEI, as stated in the memo. Shout out to this dude, Brian Martin. He's like, Jill, you're asking me to violate the president's executive order. If this action were to take place, we would be obligated to report the violation to both Treasury and the OPM team, and there could be consequences involved for those making the changes. That's me. Therefore, I cannot authorize blank to make that change. Additionally, we have already worked with blank to remove all OEI content from our website and provided documentation to show the changes. This was completed yesterday ahead of schedule. Thank you. Respectfully, Brian Martin. Shout out to Brian Martin. Getting things done ahead of schedule, under cost, and over delivering. Dude, Brian Martin is the man. You know who that dude voted for, clearly. Thank you, Brian, for honoring the president's orders against insurrection Jill. Now, later that day, Martin received an email from an e-commerce project manager telling him that Fish's DEI experience had been deleted from the site. From so-and-so to Martin, update to Dennis Fish. Hey, Brian, I received a call this afternoon from Dennis Fish. Earlier, he reached out to so-and-so asking for an edit to his bio, and she told him no. In your absence, he reached out to me and asked me to make the edit, which I did. Wow. So someone went around him. Hope I didn't step into things between you and Jill, but I didn't feel like I was in a position to say no to Dennis. Because this guy bent the knee. I wanted you to have a heads up in case blank notices the change and brings this up. Wow. 3 days later, Martin reported the deletion of the bio to the office of Ventris Gibson, but he never heard back, he said. Martin, who is a father of 7, told me he served in the military for 12 years, received the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, which is one level below the Purple Heart. He said he is disappointed by the lack of fairness at the Mint, which he feels powerless to oppose. Says, you feel like if you speak up and you complain that you're jeopardizing your career, Martin told me. At a certain point, you have long nights where you can't sleep. You have to ask yourself, is this worth it? They tried to go around me. It's such a sloppy attempt to hide their behavior. What's up? Shout out to Brian Martin right there. Thank you, sir, for your tremendous service to our country and your steadfastness in preventing this insurrection from happening and reporting it accordingly. Emails requesting comment from all 5 former DEI Mint officers, as well as Weston and McLean, were not returned. Weston, McLean, and Fish did not reply to messages left on their phones and would reach by phone. Mint director Ventris Gibson declined to comment. Pathetic. Although all 5 officers were moved in December before Trump issued his order, the mandate still applies, Ilya Shapiro said. The question is now whether they are doing new jobs or just fake jobs to cover for DEI. It's going to depend whether they can go and out those folks. They employ 1,700 people across a bunch of facilities. They have removed the language. The changing of that bio seems like that happened after the order. That is a direct concealment and obstruction of an order. In addition to his complaint, Martin filed a grievance with the labor union. Martin said he worked at the Mint for 10 years before he turned the whistleblower for this story. Now considering legal action. My agency showed no respect for my service, for me as a person, and we're grateful that he is now calling them out. So shout out to Brian Martin, who helped to report all this, and tremendous news. So good stuff. From inside the Mint, you can see there is a lot of work to do. It's not only happening inside the Mint. This is happening inside the FBI, DOJ, and elsewhere. Maybe this is why we're having difficulty getting our hands on those Epstein files and more. But we're happy to have these whistleblowers come out and reveal the truth. All right, my friends, now it has been a beautiful stream. If you're just joining us, quick recap on what we covered here. We went through the Zelensky saga meltdown and got a ton of reaction on that. Said bye-bye to Zelensky out of the White House. Saw what Lindsey Graham had to say, Kristi Noem, It's Rubio, and many others. We watched a full 13 minutes of the meltdown and reviewed how Zelensky botched this on behalf of his country and the world. Then we also see out of the Supreme Court that the doctors have filed their opposition to the application there in SCOTUS. And while we're here, let's just take a look and click this link and see if there's any more recent updates on this. Nothing new. All right. So we just read that file from today. We're waiting for the Supreme Court to say something, but they probably will not until they get additional briefing on it. But we read through that one today. That's the AIDS doctor case. That's the $2 billion that the doctors want turned back on before the preliminary injunction date comes up, when the window closes to get that money. So very important case, keeping our eye on that one. And we also learned that a whole slew of January 6th prosecutors just got demoted, courtesy of the very amazing Ed Martin, who is bringing the ruckus to the Department of Justice and who should be overseeing the District of Columbia very soon. So some great stuff. Fun story from the Mint, where the moles who used to pervade the gutters of DEI policy at the Mint have now been removed or reallocated to new agency positions, hiding who they really are, but they can't hide from all of us. So we've now found out who they are thanks to this whistleblower, and we're excited about what comes next there. So now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. And I can't wait to see what you say about all this. Thank you so much for joining us when we go live here. Thank you for subscribing to our channel and for inviting a friend to come over and join us when we go live. It's much better when we do it together. So let's see who's here on the day. And thank you so much for supporting us with your comments, your membos, your donos. If you want to become a membo, easy way to do that is by going to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Sign up there. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only stream in the morning. We do Saturday shows, and we'd love to have you join us. You can also join up on YouTube. Just click that join button, and we'll see you tomorrow. We also had a great members only stream this morning. This morning, we talked a lot about the Epstein fallout. We'll have a video on that coming out later, but if you want to catch that full live stream, we broke all that down today, all the fallout from Pam Bondi and all that stuff today. It was fun. All right, what's up? Thank you to Donut for clipping for us on the day, saying, it's Friday. It sure is. Rick Donner's in the house. What's up, Rick D? Thank you, Rick, for bringing in 5 new membos. Donald Olson is here. Nicholas, Sean Lauer, Bino Leone, Mr. Mike, all coming in courtesy of Rick D in the house. Thank you, Rick, for being a membo and bringing in 5 new membos. Former says, here's a message for Ukraine. Trump don't want no help. Chump don't get no help. From former, it's very, very poetic. Here's Trump as Mo throwing what's his name? Mo is throwing out, what's his name? I forget his name. What's the guy who burps? I know you guys are going to help me on that. Hey, Glocky here said this one from Trump. Come back with this Barney. I knew Barney. Dang it, I knew that one. Hey, Glocky says, come back with the suit, you bum, from Trump. Come back with the suit, you bum. We're not quite there yet. Not quite there yet. But we got Obama and Saddam and Gaddafi all welcoming Zelensky. Hey, man, come join us. Glocky, hey, never forget the second assassination attempt on Trump was done by a guy that recruited for Ukraine, and Ukraine worked with Democrats to try to overthrow Trump's first presidency. Yeah, the whole first impeachment was Ukraine related. Trump knows a lot more than Ukraine than he's telling from briefings he gets from the intel heads. Yeah, oh yeah, no, Ukraine has been around from the very beginning. That was all of, well, when Joe Biden was vice president, right? That was all Ukraine. Poroshenko and the fired prosecutor, all of that. Then Trump came in and they set him up with an impeachment based on Ukraine and that call with, forget the guy's name, totally meaningless call, set all of that up. And then they blamed Russia for everything, which is an insane thing to do. To blame Russia for trying to interfere with our election by creating a fake Hunter Biden laptop to steal the election. Our CIA did that. Not the Russians. Our CIA lied to us and they created fake propaganda to all of us. Like we've been harmed by our own CIA. And what's so offensive about it is that they're not supposed to do that, right? Like you're supposed to trust them to a higher level. Putin, we know who he is. Our own CIA, we expect more, but they lied to us and they tried to pin it on Russia, a nuclear power. Glocky, Zelensky says, where is my money? I need it now. And we got some other comments from Trump and Vance. Great picture. I was like, all right, enough, bro. We're done with you. Bill Dozer says, I think I may be ovulating after watching the masculine smackdown of Zelensky by President Trump and Vice President Vance today. Exceptional. Yeah, several people are now pregnant from that, actually. That's how masculine it was. Pregnant again. I can't believe it. Yeah, it's wild. Thank you, Bill Dozer. It was a fun day. Mini Wheat. History has been known to repeat itself. Well, we want Zelensky to live long and be well, just not in power. That's that. Hey, what's up, Mark Hish? 17 months as a membo. Thank you for the nice dono, Marquish. Thanks for being here for 17 months. One more month, and that's 2 full babies. Hey, Rob, keep up the great work. You make law fun. Well, thank you for that, Marquish. We try to have fun here. We're also living through some pretty fun and wild times, so we're just along for the ride in many ways. Thank you, Marquish, for being here for 17 full months. 200 Watt Studio says everybody should look up Ukraine MP Oleksandr. He just called for Zelensky's impeachment resulting from today's White House meeting. Wow. Yeah, so there'll be fallout over that. Maybe they just have an election, and let's see what the Ukrainian people really want. Glocky says, Zelensky screwed up. I won't be surprised if his military says that he should go. This is a huge development. Says the Trump administration, this is Faytux News, the Trump administration is considering ending all ongoing military aid to Ukraine, according to a senior official. Yeah, that's how I read it from Trump. I think that's basically what he said. Like, okay, if you don't want peace, then you're on your own. And either way, I'm okay with that. Like, I just want to know what America's role is, and I want some interest connected to America. So if it's Ukraine and Europe versus Russia and America's out, fine, great. We get to save a ton of money. We don't have to worry about it. It's their problem. We can worry about our own affairs here. Fine, happy with that. We get a mineral deal. I don't know how happy I'm about that, because foreign entanglements can lead to real serious consequences down the road. And, now we don't want to be battling over minerals on the front of Russia. It's kind of like an economic NATO in a way, but all right. But either way, without us being involved, they're on their own. It's gonna force Zelensky back to the table, like immediately, which is why I think he'll be back. Hey, what's up, Jason Abbey? Who do you think needs to be investigated next that has been called out? When will the 5,000 FBI agents hunt down the people on the Epstein list? I mean, the real answer, never. Okay, I don't think they're ever going to get hunted down. The likelihood of anybody else being charged in the Epstein case is it's got to be like what, just north of like what, 0? Very low. Who's going to be investigated next? Like the next, who's next in line? Like we had Weinstein, Epstein, Diddy. Who's coming next? I don't know. Don't want to throw any names out there, but there's probably some good guesses. Brandon Lesko says, this trimester is for you, Zelensky. This trimester is for you. 21 months as a member. Thank you, Brandon Lesko, for donating that to Zelensky. Hey, Ed is in the house. That very handsome horse. What's up, Ed? Thank you, Ed. Look at this. Ed bringing in 10 membos. Welcome. Walter. Judgmental. Otto Mata. We got Crucifix. Howie Brown. Jameson. Kevy Kev. What's up, Kevy Kev? We got Robert Froming, M. Rivers, and Thomas Jones in the house. Gifted membos courtesy of Ed. Thank you, Ed, for doing that. 10 membos in the house. Let's go, Brandon. Says the Z-Man Zelensky looks like he is living that Biden-Carter meme photo in that chair. If he is not already done, can someone shop in Barron sticking through the roof? Yeah, those Barron is like giant. Those memes are pretty funny. I think I saw one like there were monster trucks and then there was like Barron Trump, like monster trucking the monster trucks. I'm like, that's funny. Knox. TGIF all. Based on my training and experience, Zelensky is totally coked out, cannot keep his mouth shut. So Knox is a defense attorney in Texas, and cops all the time say, based on my training and experience, you go, shut up, what training and experience? Zelensky is totally coked out and cannot keep his mouth shut. It is like a client arguing and interrupting a judge. That never works out well either. I know, what did he think he was going to do? Like JD Vance and Trump were going to go, oh, you're right. Putin doesn't keep his deals. So I guess we're going to go to war with you. Zelensky, I don't know if he's just dumb or if he was intending to nuke that deal, but it happened. Rick Donner says, you lose Lindsey Graham, you're cooked. Yeah, Lindsey Graham was like, I think he has Zelensky bed sheets, so he has to change his sheets tonight. 200 Watt Studio said, anyone who's loaned money to one of their children or friend and have had to put up with their anger when you finally cut them off understands today. Wow, that's such a good comment. Yeah, that is a good comment. That's a really good comment. You can feel that one, right? Because you've all kind of been there. Yeah, we've all been there. It's like, no, you're done. We're not doing this anymore. You don't love me anymore? Yes, we don't. It's detachment with love. Now get out. You're on your own. That's a great comment. You can feel that one. Hey, not Brandon. LOL. Oh, sweet Lord, ladybugs. Little Lindsey is mad. He could be getting a massage instead of digging through his graham cracker bag of bad excuses to keep the war slush funds flowing. Yeah, well, I think he's probably mad because a deal would have covered up the grift, right? Like you just layer on a nice deal and nobody looks into what's been going on there for the last 2 decades. David Dehart, what's up, David? Says, Graham said Biden was the finest man ever. Best friend. Loved old Joe. Saw dust for brains. $46 million net worth, not my senator. Yeah, Lindsey Graham is something else. He has, he has something about him that just doesn't feel right. Knox, remember Biden was used to being around coked out idiots who don't stop talking? Oh yeah, no. Zelensky and Hunter, they probably got along well. You know, broing it out there, bumping off of the Oval Office table. Londo, breaking, child soccer player bites refs. What? The game was canceled. Was that Zelensky? I don't know about that one. Knox says, look how Zelensky cannot sit still and cannot make eye contact. He had an attitude, a bad-attitude for sure. Chubby, Zelensky got overconfident from being able to push around Biden, walk all over the last administration and get whatever he wanted. He thinks he's more important than he is. He thinks he has power he doesn't or never had. He's learning real quick that it was all in his head and he needs to get his head on straight real quick. He just got told today. No, good luck. I mean, you're cut off. Good luck. This was the time, but no, not now. 200 Watt Studio says, bottom line is Zelensky started with publicly antagonizing the USA. Publicly. Yeah, and J.D. Vance was talking about the media and Biden. Said nothing. about Zelensky or Ukraine or anything. The USA had no choice but to come down strong or the US would look weak. And that has happened. Oh no, Just Say Something is, a little bit of a morbid hypothetical, saying don't let Zelensky fly the same path that, what's his name, Prigozhin, remember that guy, flew, and don't let him go over the Bermuda Triangle. Freedom Lover, what's up, Freedom Lover? Thank you for sending this nice dono in. Grateful for you today. Sheila Poo says Zelensky is demonstrating how much of an actor and grifter he is. Trump slapped him down. Go Trump. Yeah, I mean, that was explosive TV. Trump was right about that. I was watching that. It was on live. I stopped everything. What the hell is happening right now? And that's how you get a solution to these things. One way or another, something's going to happen. Don't know exactly what yet. That makes a lot of people nervous, but it's better than doing the same thing over and over again and not seeing any improvements. Rick Donner says the fact that President Trump ended it without taking press questions says all we need about how angry he was. Well, that was kind of in the process of the questions. Like he kind of got to the end of the line. All right, last question, big explosion, and then everything kind of took off from there. Jason Thomas says, Robert, Zelensky made a threat. Yeah, he did. He's like, well, they're going to come over here. If I sign this deal, they're just going to break it and they're going to come over and kill you. You're like, what? What are you doing here then? We just had a deal. Everybody was coming out and talking about that. And then he starts lecturing J.D. Vance right in front of everybody in America. Get out. Freedom Lover says the news crew got to, quote, take a bite out of crime. I see what you're saying, because they were eating Zelensky's lunch. Yeah, and he's a criminal who stole billions of dollars. Amazing. Hey, Mrs. T. Rush says, thank you so much for connecting me to your mom. It means so much to me to finally have a caring person to talk to. God bless you both. Mrs. T. Rush, I've heard about it. I talked to my mama about it. Glad you guys are connecting and that it's working out well. Of course, my mama is the purveyor of ericshouse.org. It's a nonprofit organization. I just had a great meeting with the team there today, actually. And we got some cool stuff coming out. So I'm going to be hosting a virtual tour of Eric's house coming soon. I think we set a date on that. May 3rd? It's a Saturday. I'll let you know. We just said it today, literally today. So I'm going to be doing a virtual tour of Eric's house. I'm going to guide you through what it does, what it means, how it helps people, how you can get involved if you want to, how you can donate, how you can volunteer if you're someone who's lost someone, how you can get support if you have experience with this, how you can give support. And I met a new person to the team. She's awesome. And so we're going to drive this home. But I'm glad I'm glad you're experiencing some relief, Mrs. T. Rush. It's all about connection. We have to take care of each other out there. Lupe Murillo says Ukraine's MP Dubinsky is calling an emergency meeting to impeach Zelensky. Rob, did you see the video of the Ukraine ambassador? This is from Phoenix 10, who put her head in her hands after Zelensky's outburst. I did not see it. No, but yeah, I can understand that. Colleen on Locals says, I will be honest, I've gotten so tired of this guy. He doesn't want peace because he would lose power. He doesn't want it to stop because they would have to have elections. He would lose power and he knows it. Angering the president and those of us who paid taxes and then went to him, it's unforgivable, no matter how much his hate is for Putin. From Colleen. Thank you, Colleen. And thank you for the autocorrect. Knox. Zelensky was not standing up for his country any more than Kamala was standing up for women. He was just an argumentative coke addict, and his question was akin to a senator rant, disconnected from the subject matter at hand. Amazing, Knox. Very well put. Exactly right. It was argumentative, right? That's the legal term. Why was he being argumentative with J.D. Vance right in front of everybody on a little rant? Didn't work out. Spuds. Poor Lizard Cheney. I guess she won't be getting that military-industrial complex bonus check this month. Yeah, a lot of people are going to have their checks cut off. A lot of people are getting like 60 G's a month or whatever it was for consulting with Ukraine. Okay. It's like neocon NGO garbage like USAID for NGO hacks. The EO in the memo is no longer at issue. The government is relying on existing statutes and regulations as its authority for the actions. Yeah, totally right, Ed. But the judge said they couldn't do that. Said, I don't care, essentially, right? Way overbroad. than the original lawsuit. The original lawsuit sued to stop an EO and the State Department memo. Then the judge said, you still can't even cancel stuff based on contracts. And Trump obviously responded, well, we already did. So they're canceled. Rubio canceled everything. So like, we're not going to pay. Without saying we're not going to pay, we're not going to pay. That's why the Supreme Court stated, lest we have a constitutional crisis. What's up, Mark Nielsen? 12 months as a membo. Says persistent Trump and VP Vance. It's a great combo. Maybe President Trump, both too. Persistent Trump and President Trump. Persistent President Trump. That's a good combo. 12 months as a membo. Thank you for that, Mark. 1 year to us. Happy anniversary, everybody. We're happy to celebrate. Old lady, a membo posted, the mineral deal will put American engineers in Ukraine, and that will deter Russia from invading Ukraine. Exactly. Yeah, America will have a ton of infrastructure over there. Building, mining facilities and refining plants and all the things to process the minerals. So, that's kind of like an economic umbrella that the United States would be encompassing over Ukraine. Why Zelensky couldn't understand that, and Trump didn't want to say that, okay? Like, nobody wants to say that. Because that is a security guarantee, and that's hard to sell to the American people. But Zelensky's so dumb, he can just sit there and like, oh, this is what they're doing. Oh, well, what's going to make Putin agree? The mineral deal, dummy. Ed, make the AIDS doctors post $2 billion injunction bond. Yeah, right, exactly. They don't have it. If they want to post $2 billion injunction bond, then we'll give them $2 billion. And then if that money was fraudulent and we can claw it back, then we'll just take their bond. And we'll all be settled even Steven. Thank you, Ed. Londo says, are these USAID crimes almost as bad as Epstein? I think so. Could be worse. But no one's been assassinated. I don't know. I don't know if the USAID people were trafficking women, probably, underage women, probably. Somewhere where somebody was. Anyone want to bet? There you go. One or more of these charities are involved in this or worse. I'd put money on it. They want it too bad. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of this money was going to criminality. What kind exactly? Who knows? What's up, Rick Donner? Bringing 5 more in. Thank you, Rick. Clark Blount is coming in. Howdy, y'all. Welcome. June M, Fuzzy Math, and Tobessa. Gifted membos, courtesy of Rick D. Thank you, Rick, for bringing in 5 more. And Sheila the Pooh, a million hugs to you. Thank you for bringing in 10 new friends. We're going to meet so many new people tomorrow. Sam is here. Lee, Carlito's Way. Patrick Van Niedernan. We got Barbara Welsh, Lord of Strangeburg, Kieran Thacker, Imperious, West Tribe, and Jay. Gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you, Sheila. See everybody tomorrow on the membos only morning stream. Hey, David DeHart says we all got a meritorious service medal, U.S. Marine Corps, every one of us. Oh, I see. So like if somebody's bragging about that, you're like, that's kind of like a participation ribbon kind of a thing. Not, I didn't get one. Obviously I didn't serve, but interesting that would be listed. What's up? More here. Bringing in 5 more here. We got Andre Maioli. We got Rotor Fib, UWU Gaming, Brian Mack, and Matty P90. Gifted membos, courtesy of More Here. Thank you, More Here, for bringing them in. Hey, every day is Robert Day. Robert Sponseller. Thank you, Robert, for bringing in 10 new friends here. We got Elaine Loramir, Joshua Powell, John Susidik. We got Quite Clueless, Mark Manning, Joseph Baum, Loso. What's up, Paula McPhee? Game On, Beach Life, and Robert Slawinsky. Gifted membos, courtesy of Robert Sponseller. Thank you, Robert, for bringing in 10 new membos here for us. Not Brandon. Says, Rob, your hair looks great today, Rob. What's the secret? Corey from Prescott Barbershop, baby. Corey in the house. Shout out to Corey. I got to make an appointment to get it trimmed up here. Get a little bit longer on this side. What's up? That's the only thing I got for you on that. Colleen, I like that JD is more visible than almost any other VP I can ever remember. Me too. Yeah, JD Vance is rock solid. We like to see him out there. He's not mincing words, and I think he is a real nice compliment to everything everybody else is doing. Mizzy M, always enjoy the latest news and your explanations to the legal cases. Thank you, Mizzy M, for the nice dono. Glad you're a locals membo. Thanks for supporting us and grabbing those extra streams and sending in a nice tip today. More here. Bringing in 5 more here. What's up, Gretchen Shea? We got Peter Frazee in the house. Thank you for the phonetics. Dinosaur Princess Party, Tim Drozinski, and Kyle Easterly. Gifted membos, courtesy of More Here. Give me more here. What's up, One Old Guy's Opinion? Says Trump did a cruelly bill to Zelensky. Well, bye. From the movie Tombstone. Zelensky scudded his ship, caused Trump to publicly spank him on the world stage. I think that's right. He got put in timeout. No, go to your room. No, I don't want to. No, you're going to. No. You're going to your room right now. All right, he's in his room. You can come out when you want peace, Zelensky. He'll come out. They always do. Hey, Chico. Hey, Rob, as long as we are NATO members, can't we still be dragged into war? Yeah, theoretically. I mean, I think that's the what, Article 5, right? Is the idea that if any NATO member is attacked, that all NATO members will come to their alliance. I think the issue with Ukraine is Ukraine wants to be a part of that. And Russia's like, no, not on our border. That's not happening. So the issue is if Ukraine becomes a member of NATO and then they get attacked, then we're all dragged into this global conflict. So that's why we don't want Ukraine to be a part of NATO to drag us into war. Says, and second question, if you could join the Trump administration, which area and title would you be most interested in? Well, that's a great question. Nowadays, I don't know. I mean, I was excited about solving the January 6th problem, but I think they handled it much better than I could. And it was really a flawless victory on that. So I'd have to think about it. I think I could probably do some good damage and some good work on this classified document stuff. Like, I do know the Epstein stuff pretty well. I think I could add some value on that thing. Dig in through these files, something like that. Something in that arena. I like to dig and go down rabbit holes. I could be useful in that capacity in some way, shape, or form. But I just wanted to go in and be in charge of January 6th for 5 minutes. That's all. But they did it in 3 minutes, so I wasn't even needed. Thank you, Jigam, though. We'll see. Maybe one day. Hey, One Old Guy's Opinions. Hopefully SCOTUS does the same to these Bush Leaguer district judges. Yeah, and just settles this once and for all. One way or another, we get some clarity on the extent of nationwide TROs. We get some clarity on the executive branch and the ability to conduct contracts and sign executive orders and many more things. Good to see you, One Old Guy. Thank you for the dono. Eleanor Schoonover. Eleanor, thank you for this very nice tip today. What a generous dono today. Not even a question, but we're very grateful for it. Thank you so much. I hope your Friday is amazing. I hope your week was outstanding. And I hope your weekend is even better. Eleanor getting lots of love in the chat too. JC Steak says, wow. Beach Life says, thank you, Eleanor. More here. Clapping with thumbs up. Diane, you don't need to know, says, thanks so much for this. Rob is truly great. Thank you, Diane, for saying that. And Eleanor, thanks for the dono. Carizona, clapping. Just Rhonda says, you're amazing. Eleanor, thank you for the very nice dono. We're really grateful for you. And I hope you're doing amazingly well. Hey, what's up, Uncle Bozy? I wonder what the White House staffers ate for lunch today. I bet it was tasty. Yeah, no doubt. I don't even know what it was, but whatever it was delicious. Like, you would savor every single morsel of that because it's like $1 billion, right? Every slice of turkey, $100,000. Fighter 4 Street says, give me a thumbs up if Robert looks like Zelensky. Oh man, I should have worn my green shirt today. Dang it, that would have been funny. Rick Donner, what's up, Rick? Shared this one from Matt Couch. Says, Secretary of State Rubio explains how Zelensky lied to him and J.D. Vance. Yeah, and that's an older post. That's from the 21st. And I think we played that clip. Yeah, Zelensky does like this bait and switch thing, and they're tired of it. Brian Bishop, hey, 6 months as a member. Thank you, Brian. 2/3 of the way to a baby. Says, Trump is a soup Nazi. Get it? No soup for Ukraine. Well done. No soup for Ukraine. Get out. Thank you, Brian Bishop, for being a membo. One Old Guy says, Zelensky looked like a junkie getting in the face of his supplier, and then the supplier getting pimped to the curb. Trump's like, where's my baby powder? Oh my gosh. From one old guy's opinion. Says, I hate my MF and iPhone. I think we know what you were going after there, one old guy. Acoustic Theory says, one rule of negotiation. Zelensky will never get a deal this good again. Yeah, this was a good deal. This was a smoking deal for him because the United States would be clearly embedded in the future security of Ukraine, obviously. One old guy's opinion says, I hope SCOTUS pimp-handed him strong. All these Bush League or activist district judges. Legally, proverbially, because we don't want to actually, we don't condone violence here ever. But a proverbial legal pimp hand, I can understand. Knox, I am super proud that they kicked that little turd out of our White House. I see so much sadness and need on our streets every single day. This moderate comedian needs to never darken our doors again. He may never. He goofed himself pretty badly today, Knox. Rick D says, MSMs are awarded for non-combat things, so you can literally be awarded them for anything. Oh, like the meritorious medals? I got it. So like anything? Yeah. Thank you, Rick D, for the clarity on that. Hey, R.S. Sperry, what's up? Says, Combat Boot Mom here. Hey, switching over to locals. Combat Boot Mom says, boys and I are ready to go kick booty. Look at these boys in the house. What a great photo. All right, we'll take a look at those after on locals. R.S. Sperry, Combat Boot Mom, joining us on locals. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us on the locals. Jigam says, meaning if the EU or Poland or etc. put boots on the Ukraine ground and spark something. Yeah, so I see what you're saying. So like if some other NATO ally joins in with Ukraine and let's say Russia declares war on that NATO ally, does that embroil us in that conflict? And I think there would be argument that the answer is yes. And there's a lot of response in the United States that maybe we should not be in NATO to that extent anymore if they're not paying their fair share, and if they're censoring their people's free speech, and if they're threatening our social media companies to threaten our free speech too. What are we doing supporting this alliance? One old guy's opinion says, Rob, thanks for your show. Always humorous, informative, because you love this country. You're right about that, man. One old guy's opinion. It is true. A lot. I love it a lot. Thank you. And I get very mad when they try to harm our beautiful baby. What's up, Uncle Bozy? If Canada wanted to join some coalition with China, we wouldn't like it any more than Putin likes the idea of a NATO Ukraine. Exactly right. Yeah, and that's been pretty obvious. It's not like he wants to take over Europe. He's just like, I don't want someone on my door. We can understand that. Texas Grown says, you liar. You won't fit in a rabbit hole. No, unless it's like a really big rabbit. That is a true point. Physics, how does it work? I don't know. Maybe it was a big like that Easter Bunny rabbit who tried to block Joe Biden at that White House event. Remember that? Remember we had an Easter Bunny that blocked the president from the press? Do you remember we lived in that country? We did. It happened. It's on video. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Texas Grown. It's true. I'll have to rethink my plan there. Londo, give Russia and Ukraine membership in NATO. Many upsides, some downsides, but we managed to add Turkey. How could it be any worse? Well, because they want Russia to be like, if Russia is in NATO, then what do you need NATO for? China? It's like you need an enemy, and that is Russia for whatever reason. Colleen says, I like going down investigation rabbit holes. Generally numbers, hyperfocus is a thing, LOL. It is true. Yeah, it is true. It happens. Hey, the Joker. Hey, Rob. Just wondering if you know what is going on with Katie Hobbs and the money she misplaced. I don't, actually, the Joker. Our friend Carrie B on Locals this morning also asked about that. And I feel uneducated because I don't know. And I live in Arizona. I have no idea. Been covering the national stuff. But yeah, Katie Hobbs, I think I saw she signed some agreement with Nome to do some government, some border enforcement. But that's all. I haven't seen the latest on that. Thank you, the Joker, for the dono, though. What's up? Buzzy B says, Rob, it would have been great if Trump would have asked Zelensky why he hasn't come clean about the call that got Trump impeached. Yeah, that is a good question. See, Trump wasn't there to blow it up. Trump wanted to get a deal done. Zelensky blew it up. And then Trump had to go and rein him back in. But Zelensky, man, sheesh, Trump must be so freaking mad today. Nice T says, I think you're a good singer, Rob. Keep on singing. That's nice of you, Nice T. I'm not, but that's nice of you to say that. I appreciate it for the encouragement. We'll jam when it's appropriate, when we need to jam here, like when we're making fun of singing Janky Jankowitz. Frida says, in honor of the wokies, call for the spending boycott against POTUS Trump. In honor of the wokies, call for the spending boycott against Trump, from Frida Speech on Rumble. Well, I think they're doing the spending cuts. I mean, I think that's kind of where this is going right now. Is they're just saying it's time to, you have no more money. We're cutting the funds. Thanks for playing. So the cuts are happening, and the cuts will continue to happen until corruption improves. What's going on? Let's say hello to our friends on X before we head on over to locals for the day. What's up? Jody says, I believe Zelensky is the dirtiest laundromat manager ever. He's in the FO part of FAFO. He definitely F'd A today. Now he is going to FO for sure. Bernie, why did Graham say that? Because the globalists want Trump to walk away, leaving the money for BlackRock and the like to fix Ukraine. We've got this one from Line Maho. Says, I wonder what kind of pressure Zelensky was under by other interested parties. His body language screamed, I'm in a vice. Russell Wallace Warren says, I'd be done with these engineering features if the social manipulation bots weren't so something. What's up, Mini Tika? Thanks for sharing the Rumble link for us. Fred says, hey, trust me when I tell you all this, okay? Zelensky was coked out. James Pepper saying bye-bye to Ukraine, and they're definitely not in the deal anymore as it stands currently, but Trump said they can come back. Once Zelensky has gotten it out of his system, he's had a good night's sleep, and he realizes what he's done. When he wants peace, we'll come back and work on it. So, my friends, it has been a beautiful day. Thank you for joining us on this Friday stream. I hope that your week was amazing and you accomplished all the things you set your mind to. We are going to pause here for the weekend. We're going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Locals friends, stick around. We'll see you over there. New members will be here tomorrow for our Saturday stream. We'd love to see you then. Thank you for joining us on the Saturday show. We also want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths who mod down the fort for us and keep things oh so nice and orderly and beautiful. K-Bean, Donut Mind Me, Carrie B, Playin' Hooky, Dog Digger, Janek, and Gigum dropped some memes this week too, including that one with the little babies. Oh gosh. Thank you, Gigum, and thank you, mods, for modding the fort down for us and keeping things oh so nice and beautiful and orderly around here. But my friends, it has been a tremendous week. Thanks once again for joining us. I hope that your week was very successful. I hope your weekend is even better. I hope that you are able to unplug from the busyness of whatever you attend to during the week so that we can together rejuvenate our spirits, restore our soul, get outside, get some fresh air, some vitamin D, some beautiful sunshine, spend time with our family, our friends, the people that we love, because when we come back here on Monday, we're going to need to see you to do it all again right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, an amazing weekend, my friends. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.